Hi, community. Today, I want to talk about the Chinese. It's important, it's a topic we cannot run away from. And at the end of this, I want you to make up your mind because I'm just going to lay before you facts. I want it to be clear. I have nothing against any race, and this has nothing to do with any, it's not about setting up one race against the other or whatever. But let's look at the facts as they relate to us, especially here in Africa. But I would encourage you to watch to the very end because you're going to get a lot of revelations and probably your worldview might just change. Okay. Now, before we do that, please, if you've just joined this channel, we have so many videos on this channel that can be very useful to you. You can also hit the subscribe button down below, the red button, and then hit the notification bell, as well, so that you can continue to receive more videos from us. And feel free to leave your comments as well. I like to engage, with you, at the end of everything. Now, the Chinese. What brought this about was something that happened in Nigeria recently. We had very few cases of COVID-19. And the Lagos state government, one of the states in Nigeria, was managing very effectively, the spread and management of the virus and of patients as well. And then suddenly from out of the blues, instead of seeing how we can strengthen our local health workers and practitioners, the government at the federal level decided to, I want to use the word, import. And why do I say the government at the center? Even though later it was argued that, it was said that it was a Chinese company that brought in these Chinese doctors, into Nigeria. Why would you even allow them? The question is, don't we have competence? What kind of vote of confidence are we giving our local health practitioners who are on the front line, risking their lives? The Chinese have enough on their plate already, and our doctors are certainly not complaining. They were doing very, very well. And then the argument was that no, they were coming to treat their own, staff in a Chinese construction company. Okay, fine. Why would do they have, I don't see a doctor in Nigeria going to practice in the US for whatever reason, or in China for that matter. Have they registered with the local, medical council in Nigeria? Why would they come here and then say they're coming to, why would anyone for that matter allow them to come into this country? 15 of them. We were told they were going to be tested. Have they been tested? Have the results been made public? Several weeks down the line, we don't even know where they are. And since they came in, like many people feared, the cases have gone terribly worse in this country. You think I'm being alarmist? Let us look at what happened first where this whole thing started, in Wuhan, in China. When this pandemic broke out in Wuhan, there was a total lockdown. You could not move from Wuhan to any other part of China. And so they contained it to within Wuhan. But you could move out from Wuhan to the rest of the world. And that's how this virus spread to the rest of the world. That was very, very careless. And to make matters worse, the Chinese who started this whole thing, rather than, taking responsibility, started picking on black folks in China and making it seem as if they were the ones that originated, this virus. We've seen videos of them being discriminated against in hotels, in supermarkets, in public places. We've seen videos of them being beaten. And I wonder for what reason? Because of the color of your skin? I'm wondering when the Chinese race became a superior race. I don't understand what has given them that sense of entitlement. Okay? rather than take responsibility for spreading this virus, fully aided by the WHO, who covered them up initially. Instead of telling the world how serious this matter was, the WHO made it seem like it wasn't such a big deal after all. Today, people are blaming Trump. Well, blame him for all you want for taking late action, but I mean, even in my country, my president and the federal government did not take action early enough. But all of this was because the Chinese were engaged in criminal cover-up. I mean, someone has to take responsibility. Now, these Chinese people are brought into Nigeria. You see, the reason I'm saying this is that they have a pattern wherever they go to. In the West, for instance, you bribe, even if you're not punished in that country where you committed the bribe. Back home, if it is discovered, you're going to pay a price. The Chinese have no qualms about bribing. Of course, they know that many Africans are gullible, especially our leaders. And so they bring cash, give to them, and then, and then these leaders are compromised. They lack integrity across the continent. Many of them. Which is why you find that many countries right now in Africa are being sold out to the Chinese. The West has been warning, But then again, can the West, does the West really have, any moral ground, to warn against the Chinese? You have abandoned Africans, okay? So if the Chinese come like, help us, for instance, then you will not blame the poorer African countries because, but then again, why should we even look anywhere as Africans? Let's go back to China. The Chinese, we have no excuse. If it is population, they are more populated than, one in every 5 to 6 human beings alive today is Chinese. So you cannot use population as an excuse for your poverty or your failure. Okay? The Chinese took responsibility. And so we cannot, as Africans, begin to say, our population, we're overpopulated, that's why there's poverty and all that. They have the same problems. Okay? They decided to take responsibility. They locked down the economy and then started producing from within. Today, China is a manufacturer, of goods for the rest of the world. Not only that, labor is cheap there, but so is it also in Africa. But the problem in Africa is the ease of doing business. Many pay lip service to it, including my country. We pay lip service to the ease of doing business, and yet corruption is endemic in the system. The reason China works or worked is because within the system, now it's different when they go out, but within the system, there's zero tolerance for corruption, especially in government. And so because of that, you cannot, things will of necessity work. But in Africa, the leaders are thinking only about themselves, thinking only about their bellies. They loot their countries and take to other countries. They die off. No one can trace where this money is. Now let me get back to what I was talking about. The Chinese, you want to ask yourself, what interest do they have in Africa? Of course, they have a population that is exploding, not just expanding. And they have looked into the future. They also need resources. They also need to feed their people. The economy is buoyant right now. And so what are they doing? The only place they think they can go to is these poor Africans. People that they have painted in their media as no better than human beings. I saw the video of an artwork, an art exhibition where Africans were being compared with baboons, with apes, with the lowliest of the low. How low can the people get? And so when I look at it, you can see clearly what the agenda is. Come to these poor African countries, loan them money, offer to help them, obviously because these countries have been used to grants from the West, and of course the West have their own problems, so it's not forthcoming like it used to. So the Chinese come like saviors, so to say. And then they come and start doing construction, I've been to countries in Cameroon, for instance. I saw the huge place, whether exhibition or whatever place they constructed for. I see so many things they do. And then it looks like they are friendly. But the truth is they're not friends with you. They have an evil agenda to take over. Of course, you sell your land, you take a loan, and you cannot pay because your leaders are corrupt. They have sold your future generations. When it's time for foreclosure, the Chinese will come and they will take over. We've seen it happening in Zambia. We've seen it happening in so many other African countries. And they're expanding. And then what makes matters worse is the Chinese come into these same countries and begin to take the jobs of even the very low jobs that ordinary folks in these countries should be doing at the retail level. They bring in businesses, whether construction, manufacturing, or whatever. They bring in Chinese to come and do these jobs. The locals are not employed, or barely, hardly, This has been the trend, and it is expanding. Why do I think that there might be some truth in the conspiracy theory about the fact that the Chinese must know a little more than they're owning up about this coronavirus? Of course, that when you're looking at a crime, one of the things you look out for is the motive. Do they have a motive? Obviously. If Africans die off, they take over. Secondly, they need a place to send their people to. As they're expanding, they need territories to conquer and take over. Okay? And the Chinese that came into Nigeria, since they came in, everything is exploding. The numbers have started rising. And our government, in a criminal cover-up, has refused to tell us where they are. They have allowed doctors that we don't know anything about to come and practice in Nigeria without a license. What is happening? We have seen cases in the West where they sent face masks that were fake. They sent ventilators that were fake. They sent kits, personal protective kits that were fake. Isn't that something to learn from? And in these Western countries, these kits and stuff were returned back. But no, here we have embraced them. We saw them as being generous. How generous can the people who call your race, apes and baboons? How generous can they be? How generous can the people who are interested, in taking over your country, your economy, in expanding into your country, how generous can they be? Can't we just smell the coffee and see what is going on? I'm asking the Nigerian government, where are the Chinese doctors? What is the result of their test? What is happening to them right now? Of what benefit are they in this country? Have they registered with the local medical council? Do we have their certificates to truly ascertain that they are specialists and that they're doctors? Even if they say they are treating Chinese in Nigeria, what does that say to us? They have no confidence in the Nigerian medical system. Then by all means, send your people back to your country. The European Union sent Europeans back to their country. They evacuated them back to their country. The Americans evacuated Americans back to their country. So what stops the Chinese from evacuating Chinese back to their country? Why do they have to bring them into this country? There are more questions than answers. And to our leaders, I say, if you mortgage the future of your nationals because of the crumbs you think you're getting from the Chinese, remember, COVID-19 has taught us that all men are equal. COVID-19 is a leveler. Obviously, if you don't take care of your medical system locally, COVID-19 has demonstrated to you that you will be stuck in your country with what you have done and you will die there because obviously there is no treatment. Every country is looking after its own right now. Okay? It's time to look inwards. The Chinese looked inwards and so they were able to develop their economy to the extent that it is today. To fellow Africans, I say, look inwards, develop your health system, develop your educational system, develop your economy. Close your economy and begin to manufacture from within. It is time to be to the West what China has been all this while. The manufacturers to the rest of the world. Labor is cheap here. Kill corruption and create a good atmosphere for business to thrive. If we talk about ease of doing business, the first thing to do is to nail corruption, and it starts from the top. Only when we do that can we truly begin to see a clear direction. Singapore, South Korea, Malaysia, these are countries that got independence with many African countries at the same time. Today, they're light years ahead of us. The difference is they nailed corruption. They were just as poor, if not poorer than we were. They nailed corruption. They looked inwards and they developed their educational system, human capital, and today they're where they are today. It's time to stop looking for grants, look inwards. If we want loans, diasporans, if we make our countries good enough, we have enough Africans in the diaspora that can come back to Africa. We don't need any direct foreign direct investments in Africa from anybody else. Africans in the diaspora have enough money to do that. Diaspora repatriations are more than all the loans that we need. But you know why we're not getting it as much as we want to? Because there's no security. Both physical and fiscal security, if I may use that language. The atmosphere is just not right. And so until we get it right, we'll continue to remain where we are. I want to appeal to us. The Chinese are not our problem, are not our solution in Africa. We don't need them. We don't need them. We don't need anyone for that matter. Let us look inwards. Our problem is in the mirror. Until we decide, like the Chinese did, to take our destiny into our hands, we'll forever remain slaves to the rest of the world. And what they think about us, we will continue to live up to. And we will seem like, I don't know what to say. Not all Africans are, how do I put it, daft. But we don't have leaders with the courage to do the right thing. Corruption has blinded many of them. They go out there and they steal shamelessly and sell their conscience and their countries to the Chinese. I say enough of the Chinese. To the Chinese, go back to your country. We don't need you. And I'm not being discriminatory. No. If you come here like the people from the West come in, do your business normally. Don't treat Africans like second-class citizens within their country and in your country. If you cannot do that, then we have no business with you. Until you respect us, we don't need you. You have been stealing our resources. You are buying over our lands. I want to say to Africans, resist them wherever you can. Resist them. We cannot continue to allow the Chinese to plunder our resources and to continue to insult us with the aid of our leaders. To the Nigerian government, once again I say, where are those Chinese doctors? What is happening to them? Why are you harboring them in this country? Why do we need them? Do we have no confidence in our local doctors? What encouragement are we giving to them? If they want to treat Chinese people, let them take the Chinese people back to their country. If you are new to this channel, I want to encourage you to please subscribe to this channel. And while you do that, on the red on the red button, you say notification bell, hit it so that you will always be the first to know when we release new videos like this. I'll see you again.